Hey there, everybody. This is Richard, the Education and Training Manager here at Vertical Response. Thanks for coming out for our Extreme Email Makeover webinar. Our two hosts today will be Aaron Jacobs, the Director of Marketing here, and Alf Brand, the Director of Marketing Communications. As you can probably tell from the slide and from the description at registration, we'll be making over some emails to show you how to improve your own messages through a lot of great examples. Just a few housekeeping notes before we jump into the presentation. One, there will be a question and answer session at the end of the presentation. So if you do have questions, please use the question and answer pane in GoToWebinar to send those questions over, and we'll gather them and answer them at the end. Also, just for anyone who's not familiar with our webinar series, our Friday webinars are generally more relaxed, while our webinars during the week are more all business. So I wear a suit, say, on our Wednesday webinars, whereas today I'm wearing flip-flops just to be relaxed for this. So just keep that in mind. This will be a more relaxed webinar than we might normally have. So anyway, I'm going to hand things over now to Alf and Aaron to get us started. I know a couple of people said that the volume's a little low, so I just want to go ahead and let you know now that I will turn that up so that you can hear better.
All right, good morning, everyone.
Great. Thanks, Richard, for that introduction. Happy Friday. So as Richard mentioned, Alf, you want to go to the next slide? For the audience, possible audience that might not be familiar with Vertical Response, or maybe this is the first time you've joined us today, I'm just going to give you a little overview on who we are. We've been a pioneer in the self-service marketing business for small to medium businesses since 2001. Our CEO, Janine Popick, founded the company, and really with the mission of bringing the same quality tools and applications that larger enterprise companies have come to depend on to grow their business, to make them easy, affordable, and accessible for small and mid-sized companies to leverage the same technology as well. So we are a leading provider of email marketing services, and what that means is we deliver and provide opt-in forms for building your list, email creation tools, managing the deliverability of your emails so that you are CAN-SPAM compliant and that all of your email gets delivered to your intended recipients. And we also offer online survey product to help you close the loop on that customer communication and build that relationship so you can continue to provide quality products and services to your customers and your audience. We're an active member of the Email Sender and Provider Coalition, and they are an organization that drives and sets the standards for our industry, making sure that we are responsible email marketers. We have award-winning products and a marketing blog that Janine is committed to blogging twice a week on, offering great resources and tips for companies to grow their business and how to leverage our products and services to really help build their business.
Yeah, and if you don't subscribe to that or read it, you can find it at blog.verticalresponse.com.
Very good. So to start things off today, I wanted to talk about the great response we had for the emails that were submitted. We had several hundred emails submitted from customers, from non-customers, from people who have either just starting out with email marketing and looking for a way to give a little facelift to some of the campaigns that they've been sending out. So these are some of the points of or elements of an email that Alf and I looked at when deciding which ones to remake over, and things that we look at in our own emails to make sure that we're really driving to best practices and getting the maximum response out of all of our campaigns. So your from label we'll probably talk about. It's very important. Subject lines. How do you maximize that short amount of space to really get emails opened? Offers and call to action, really making sure that you're adhering to some of the best practices in direct marketing. Your use of images is definitely a common theme that we saw in some of the emails that were submitted. And then Al's really going to talk about overall layout and design and how to maximize some of the pre-built layouts that we have right within the application. Great. So, next slide.
So here we go. So let me talk a little bit about best practices. When we approached this webinar, we really wanted to put all of our best practices to use in the stuff that people had sent to us. A lot of people weren't really thinking about these when they were designing their emails, so it made us think that they really don't know about them. So to bring them to the forefront, I just want to talk to some of these points. When you're creating emails, you really want to avoid using images as your sole content. Why don't you want to do that? Because if your email browser, which many by default these days has the images turned off, the first thing your recipient might see is your unsubscribe message, which is not, a very, enticing thing to think about. Having people, the first link to click is to unsubscribe from your list. So, thing to keep in mind: you want to have a good rule of about 80-20% text to images. So 80% text and 20% images. Your images should really support what your text has to say, and not the other way around. Something that a lot of people don't think about is to use alt text. What this is a description of what that image is. So if your images are shut off by default, you might have the replacement text of a descriptor of what that image is. So it gives people a feeling of what they're missing, and maybe they should click to view those images. That's something that is, if you're using vertical response, it's something that we do for you by default. We let you alter that to make it more descriptive, but we do enter in some text by default. So you'll never have an email sent out without some alt text. Another thing to keep in mind is the size or shape of the preview pane of your recipient. I know I like to use the preview pane, top to bottom. We see on the left-hand side here, where you can see the newsletter, the full width of the newsletter without any problem. But if someone were to use vertical preview pane, you lose the right-hand column. So you see that our most important copy in our newsletter is to the left of the newsletter. So the recipient will see our lead story, and we'll still get some traction there. So keep that in mind when designing your newsletters. You don't want you want to get the best bang for your buck. You want your good content up and to the left. Another good practice is to keep your content short. Use short blocks of copy, use bullets, and include several links back to your site. Having just one image, like I showed you before, that's one link, and it's not very effective. You want to give people multiple ways to get to what you're driving them to. In this example, we have, you can't really see this here, but the logo is linked back to Biz Journals. This image may be linked, and then we have a clear call to action. How do I access print content? So click through, and you may get access.
I think that was one of the common themes that we saw of a lot of the emails that were submitted. A lot of people had only one call to action in their email, and often it is well below the fold, as we say, in the email, so people would have to read the email in its entirety to get the payoff of where you want to send them next.
That's right. Or they might have a call to action that's not obvious. The underlined links is a very obvious thing, or a nice button that says click me or buy here. You want to keep that in mind. Some fonts, your text size, and text color. These are important things to keep in mind. You want to stick with web-friendly fonts, and what we mean by that is you might have the most beautiful script font on your PC that you're designing your email, but you may not know this. If you use that font, you might be the only one who has that font. So when your email arrives in your recipient's inbox, unless they have that font installed, they're not going to see that beautiful email you created. So if you stick to your web-friendly fonts, and these are fonts that are on all computers, Arial, Verdana, Trebuchet, Times New Roman, and Georgia, you'll get some solid representation of what you're trying to portray.
And they're easily readable.
Yes. That leads me to text size. You want to stay away from text that's too small for readability, obviously. Not everybody can read that small text. And you want to stay away from too large for deliverability. Large, extra large typeface is something that spam filters sometimes look at to see if you're a spammer. I know if I've gotten a bunch of spam where it's just giant text, and that goes right to the junk box. So keep that in mind. Text color, you want to avoid light on dark backgrounds or drop out text for readability. It's hard to scan through an email where everything is dropped out. And avoid too many colors for deliverability. I'm not saying don't use color. If your favorite color is green, by all means use green. But using a multiple set of colors in one email will get you it'll give you a spam score that's a little bit higher and might make your deliverability a little less reliable. So now let's get on to some makeovers.
Sounds great. So we had a lot. We have several hundred submissions.
Yes, we did.
And it was really hard to choose which newsletters we wanted to make over. So what we've tried to do here is select various types of email promotions, whether they're newsletters or they're trying to drive online traffic for e-commerce sites, or convey some kind of an offer or an incentive for a business. So Parenting Oasis, our first makeover up here, is a newsletter. And some common questions we get, I think someday we could probably even do an entire webinar just on newsletter content.
Yes.
What I think I saw most common were two extremes. Newsletters were being submitted with too much content or not enough, and you could tell that the business was struggling on how to make this a newsletter. What's the right level of content to have in a newsletter? And also, I think important points to think about are what are regular sections and possible columns that you can create within your newsletter that you want to have a new update or a new tip in every newsletter.
Right, have
so
it
we'd like to
repeat
have
over
a
time.
simple. There should be at least some kind of payout. You want to drive traffic back to your company or to your site, but there should be a payoff in the newsletter itself with valuable information for your audience. So that being said, Parenting Oasis here we selected had a lot of great content. However, we did notice that the header occupied a bit too much of the space, which was pushing a lot of that great content down too far on the email itself.
So again, if you remember the preview pane, I would have to scroll a bit in order to get to the first article here. Another thing we noticed is they weren't using personalization. Our application makes it super simple to say dear first name or dear first name last name. So why not use it? It makes it a little bit more personal and makes me more likely to read further. Again, they have great content, but it's just a big block of text, so it looks a little bit, daunting if I'm gonna, sit down and really get into this right now, or do I have, clear sections on? Oh, let me skip down to something that's, the event section or the article of the message of the week or month. Their upcoming event information was buried all the way at the bottom, and it wasn't really called out. So that was something that we thought we didn't like about this newsletter as well.
Very good.
So driver, move that bus.
As they say on our favorite home makeover show.
Right. So here we go. This is what we did to this newsletter. We've rearranged the header portion. We've added a little bit of branding. So the weekly newsletter now matches their logo. Their logo is a bit smaller. We've also brought up their, I don't know if you remember on the sidebar before, they had their in this issue kind of table of contents. We brought that up to the header, so we now at a glance know, the article names. We want to see what's upcoming. We want to, the massage opening stuff that was buried at the bottom, which was kind of interesting. We brought that up to the top. We've given specific headlines for each one of the sections. So at a scan, I know where the section breaks are, and I can bounce down to the upcoming happenings or so forth. Their big event for this movie that they're going to be having is now called out, and it's definitely separate. And we think that this gives the newsletter a little bit more. It looks a little more finished and a little bit more. I don't know the word for it. Professional, I guess.
So just a simple change of copying the use of the two different colors in the weekly newsletter and how they use their logo for Parenting Oasis, I think really helped tie the entire newsletter look together. And
right.
Again, leveraging the same colors, and the
From their
application
logo.
makes it fairly easy just to copy those actual PMS colors right into the newsletter design.
Definitely. Using our Canvas tool, we're able to change the color of the background for each section or cell area here, and to match their logo, and it really makes it a nice cohesive look.
So just to wrap up on newsletters, finding the right mix of value that you're going to send in your actual newsletter, the right number of call to actions driving people back to the important information on your site, and creating sections in your newsletter so that it's easily scannable and people can have their eye go right to the section that interests them the most in case they don't have time to read the email in its entirety. Great. So next email up is a business-to-consumer retail site in the UK called Tredz, and they submitted the email as you see there with a lot of great images and colors and offers. Alf, what did you do with this one?
So some of the things we saw about, or we disliked about this email is the amount of large images. You can't really tell from this little screenshot because it's kind of squashed down to fit on this screen. But this was an exceptionally long email that had really large banners for different promotions they were having. It wasn't really obvious to us where we should click, how we were to take action on maybe purchasing a bike, or how did we cash in on the 25% off, short sale. There's no click here to make it happen, or, come into our store and tell us about this email. There's nothing like that. There's no call to action. The cycling tip in here, this orange area, was exciting to us, but, why not have the cycling tip right in the email? Make the email more of a half newsletter, half promotion. This way, I'm excited to get the next issue. I might have a little tidbit in there. It's not just another sale. I'm not interested in buying a bike right now.
Kind of going back to having the payout in the newsletter.
Right. And then once again, the email is extremely long, and you can tell that by how tiny it is on this slide here because I had to shrink it down to make it fit. So let's move that bus again and bring us into our redesign. So here we by taking their content that, I didn't recreate anything for them here. I just took their content and laid it out a little bit differently. I brought down those giant banners that they had and made them in a side column here, which they still have the same effect. They're still legible. You can still, if one interests you, you can, click on that and get to their online store relatively easily. I brought their products, their bikes that they were selling, up to above the fold, so I can see right away that this is great deals on these new mountain bikes and such. One thing that they didn't have in their email was a clear call to action. So now we have buy links next to each one of these bike specials. So hey, if this giant bike interests me, right there I can click buy and be taken right to their online store, and if I need financing available, it's there at their store for me as well. Their biking tip, which you remember in the example, actually, if I were to click on that in their example, brought me to their blog. Now, this is something that actually we do for our own newsletters. We use the content from our blog for our newsletter. So I thought this is the perfect opportunity to take some of their blog content, put it in the newsletter or in their promotion, and now it's doing double duty. It's a promotion, but it's also very informational. So, I may not be interested in buying a bike this month, but this article that's in here is very interesting to me. So it's driving traffic to their blog, and just keeps them top of mind no matter when they receive this email. Have their new gear in here, and their big promotion, their test bike day, is still a very important thing, so we kept that as their footer. So I think overall this is a better looking email.
Yeah, it looks great. One more thing to add to that is something that we've noticed with either newsletters that have so many call to actions, or emails like this from Tredz that really, again, has a lot of call to actions, a lot of offers in one email. By putting them all in one email, it is harder for the reader to decide which one they might want to click on, but also it's a missed opportunity for the company or the organization to send a separate email and to really highlight one of those specific offers. So, we see a lot of companies that send one monthly newsletter with all of the offers every month, but really, maybe what would work better for them is to have a shorter newsletter with some information and some value in the newsletter, with one or two calls to action, and then two separate offer emails going out during the month. And often we hear from customers that by increasing the number of times that they email their audience, or possibly even segment their audience for those targeted offers, based on who has had previous experience or response to certain types of campaigns. They can actually increase their response rates and their open rates. People get familiar and they look forward to seeing those emails.
That's right.
They remember who you are and they're less likely to unsubscribe.
Right.
Time goes by and you're not really establishing that name recognition with your audience. You could lose them.
That's true.
So think about how much needs to be in one email or in your newsletter, and what can you create separate, single, what we call solo
Solos
emails
for,
with
yeah.
some kind of an offer.
All right, let's see our next one here.
Vivian Alexander. So here's an example of a newsletter again that came in but had a great event. Their subject line actually was great. I think it really talked right to the last class of the summer. I think it speaks to exactly what the offer and the payout's going to be when they open the email, what the email is going to be about, and that
right.
really supported best practice. Where we felt they missed the mark a little bit, Vivian Alexander is high-end Fabergé egg ornaments and purses and classes that have basically a luxury product. So by looking at the design that they selected, we didn't feel that the design and the layout supported the high-end value
Right,
of the
yeah.
product.
Another thing we noticed is that the text and imagery were completely separated. So if the images were turned off, you'd have just as a big block of text. Right now, we'll show you in our example where we intersperse the imagery, and I think it'll be a better fit. Poor use of style and color for the announcements. Everything's black on gray background, so you have a great opportunity to really pop those headlines and make those announcements stand out by using HTML email. So basically, why not do it?
Right. Their brand and their product is really about the beauty of the design of the eggs, and that should also come through in their communications to their audience.
So let's give us a makeover. So here we have Vivian Alexander's new newsletter. It's definitely a bit more stylish, I guess is a good word.
Mm-hmm.
We've called out what the newsletter is about. It's about, the last class of the summer is this, coming July 26th when this was sent to us. And then it gets into the content. And here I disperse the imagery throughout the email, so it breaks up the text and it makes it more inviting to read through this and see what the classes are about. You can see the actual students designing their eggs. The headlines, again, there's an announcement at the bottom. It's called out by using some color and a larger typeface. So it really gives the newsletter a more elegant, I guess, look, and it really, ties in the colors from this one egg. We took the one egg that they had, the final egg with the palm tree on it, as our base, for the greens and so forth. So I think it's a pretty good makeover.
Looks great.
All right, let's go to our next one.
So Athena's olive tree. I had a lot of fun working on Athena's olive tree this past weekend. This is an example of a newsletter that was a little bit of on contrast to the other newsletters that had so much content. It seemed that they were struggling to find the right content to put into a newsletter.
Right.
They also led. It's probably a little bit hard to tell from the example on your computer screen, but the leading offer and content up there is explaining the value of the newsletter, explaining the newsletter, how often they'll receive it, and if they don't want to receive it, how to get removed from the newsletter.
Right.
So essentially their first call to action is take me off. And of course with CAM spam compliance, we want to make every email, and Vertical Response has built that into the application so that if people do want to unsubscribe from your newsletter, they can do that. However, we don't recommend that you lead with that.
Right.
There was so much great information and the personality of Athena's olive tree on their website.
Yeah.
So I hunted around their website a little bit, really learned about the passion of why these two people started this business, and there was a lot of value of the information of these handmade quality soaps and bath products for the entire family, all made with natural products. So there's an opportunity here for a sale. Again, below the fold, there's some kind of a coupon or offer.
The thing I want to point out is that both of these images here, the sale and the coupon, are image-based. So once again, if your recipient has their images turned off by default, which I would say close to 99% of all email browsers have that option. This email says, hey, you're getting this newsletter because you subscribed, here, there, or the other place. If you want to unsubscribe, click the link at the bottom, and then they see no imagery. They don't get the sale. They don't get the coupon. They just get an invitation to unsubscribe from your list.
Right.
So, so those were the main wrong points with this email. So let's give you an example of what we would have done. So here's Athena's new newsletter.
So the first thing I did from a content perspective was really try to pull a lot of the great personality, the reason why they started their business, what these products do, and making it timely. Really talking about the end of summer, fall coming, change of seasons, how that can affect your skincare and your skin, and what some of the great ingredients in their natural products actually can do for the recipient.
And all of this information was taken from their website, so it's not like they didn't have the content.
Right.
They just didn't use it. So
another great section there is that happy customers share their stories. So if you scroll up a tiny bit, Alf, right there.
Yeah.
On their website, they had a few really great quotes. And this is leveraging something that we do, again, in our own newsletters and blogs. We love to get feedback from our customers, to have us tell them what their experience has been like. We call them the VR superstars, and we have an inbox with people, submitting stories of success for us to leverage, and we highlight that, and that really can add a viral quality and word of mouth marketing to your campaigns. When people see their name in print or they're used as an example, they tend to tell their friends about it and forward the email on.
Yes.
That will really help you grow your list. So you're proud of your customers. They're your best reference out there and your best attempt at bringing in and expanding your list to new customers. Giving back, again, that was another consistent theme in their website about their business, that a portion of their proceeds go to various charities that are really meaningful to them as business owners, and they should include that commitment in every newsletter that goes out.
That's right. And the inspiration, again, for this newsletter, the colors and stuff came exactly from their website and their logo, so we're being true to their brand. Also, we've downsized some of the imagery and a few additional examples of the soaps that they provide. Just makes it a lot more inviting and exciting to look at, and makes me want to read further.
Right, and we haven't left out that important unsubscribe information or the information about the newsletter and how often they should expect to receive it. And I think Athena's Olive Tree has a great opportunity with the number of products and offers that they have on their site to create, again, solo emails, additional touch points beyond just the monthly newsletter.
Great.
Especially as we get into the holiday season.
That's right. All right.
So Pampered Chef. We have a lot of customers that are in direct selling type businesses, either Pampered Chef, we see a lot of Arbonne Skincare, Body Shop at Home products, and again, there's a lot of great offers, a lot of packages or discounts or promotions. They are businesses that are run through either home-based parties and invitations, so there's often a segmentation opportunity to whether you're marketing and keeping your group of hosts that regularly host events for you, or the guests that have attended events.
Right.
So keep that in mind as two opportunities. Make it really easy within vertical response to segment your list and to identify whether someone was a host for you or was a guest. So those things in mind. Looking at the Pampered Chef email, this was a newsletter that came through. Again, you can see that long column on the side of the screen.
Right.
That's all in one email.
This was one email. Scroll on forever.
So I really took the opportunity to say, what are one or two offers in this email that I think that we should highlight. Also going back to the name in the subject line, I think in their subject it was from a Pampered Chef, and the subject said Pampered Chef Newsletter. So I felt there was a missed opportunity there to really convey the value of what they were going to receive in the email that I created and having a little bit of fun with it. So the from label is Pampered Chef, and the subject line is September is cooking with savings.
Right. I know another thing I want to point out is I noticed when I was going through some of their campaigns is that they have many products, but in groups of products. So you could see a bunch of knives or a bunch of pots and pans. There's another opportunity to segment where you might have, a knife email where it's like all knives, and that goes out on this week, and next week is the pots and pans email. So it's not all mashed into one. It's like I don't know what to buy or purchase or what I'm interested in right now, but if I get something that's all about knives, I might find the right knife in that bunch of knives that I've been missing. But so it's just another opportunity to
right
to segment.
And something I think that some of the direct selling or franchisers might have in businesses where they are one business owner and there are many business owners sharing the same brand. Finding the opportunity to input your own personality in there and still create some personalization about your business
Right.
and what you're bringing to your audience.
Right.
So let's take a look at what we did.
All right. So here's our remake. We definitely shortened this newsletter, and we brought it down to two features. We have the guest special and the host special. And we've aligned both of the products a little bit differently in a grid. So we can really call out, our couple of different specific items rather than crowding them all into one email. This again going with the looking forward to possibly sending, this one this week, another one next week, and so forth. Doing maybe a weekly Pampered Chef newsletter. I know that'd be kind of cool to get.
Right.
I like to cook myself.
And I add a little bit of copy there up at the top, reminding people of the personality of the person that is the Pampered Chef consultant, and trying to bring in some timeliness. I would also suggest for them to create emails with an offer to, like the example of, the cookware that's being used there, maybe including, if it were a newsletter, a recipe to go with it. So if you're selling a large crock pot, some kind of yummy pot roast recipe or
Right.
a tip to go with it, or, chili for the fall, something that's going to convey the season and really inspire people to cook.
Yeah, adding a little, content other than promotion into your promotional emails makes, turns your promotional email into something more than you've ever expected it to be, because now it's something people are looking forward to getting rather than, just another sale thing, I'll look at it later or move
Right.
on, next email. Okay.
And it encourages the use of the forward to a friend
Yes,
feature
it
to
does.
really help build out your list.
So here's an example of an email that someone sent us that, first thought I thought was, hey, that's a really well-designed email. I said, there's really no reason to make this one over. We like the look of it. It's different. It's eye-catching. It's like, I think it's pretty cool looking. Until I saw it in a preview pane that wasn't top to bottom. It was a vertical. All of a sudden, I'm missing 1.5 of my 4 columns. So it's just an example I wanted to point out. It's a very nice looking email, but it's not designed well for an email browser or email client. So just to keep that in mind, you want to have something that's relative. You want to test. Send your emails out to multiple accounts. Send one to Gmail, Yahoo, any free account you can get. If you have a friend who has a Mac or a friend who has a specific version of, IE or whatever, just send it to them and have them give a test. We have that test your email feature that you can send up to 10 people on a seed list. Use it. It'll really help you design better emails. All right. I think that was our last one.
So that's it for the emails that we made over this time, and we hope that we gave you some good ideas there. But I think Richard's probably going to take it over and sort through some questions and answers that might have come in.
Yes, yeah, we definitely had a lot of questions come in. If you're still thinking of questions right now, we did get a lot, so I don't know if we'll get through all of these necessarily during this Q&A session, but if you do think of a question right now, please go ahead and submit it through the question pane, and I'll hopefully be able to get to it. The first question I want to ask, because it came up 1 or 2 times, was were all the emails shown here today built in one of the vertical response email editors?
Yes, we used our Canvas tool to build these emails. Um,
However, not all of the emails that were submitted to us
we're
used.
yeah.
Yes, we saw, various
People
applications.
using our wizard or using they're they were using our canvas but not using all of the features of the canvas, or some people have sent emails to us that were using competitors of ours. So um, you know, but all of these makeovers were done using our canvas tool. So they're all, you can achieve these by using vertical response.
Got it. So you didn't really alter those templates too much either. You just took the basic layout and played around with it a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, got it. So this question's about images, about the image ratio. We had someone from an art gallery, and she says it's difficult to maintain that 80-20 ratio because so much of what they're sending is
Right.
images. They want to show people the
Right.
pictures. So do you have any kind of suggestions for someone dealing with an issue like that?
That's a very good point. I would say in your case, it's okay to go past the 80-20 rule because your business is images. So people receiving your email are expecting image-heavy emails. They want to see the artwork. They want to see large versions of the artwork. I would, maybe you can test using some smaller thumbnails that link you to a website with a larger version, see if it helps your click-through rate. Having a lot of clicks into your website is a good thing. So, having people leave your email and go to your website is something you want to strive for. So, I would test different versions, a couple big images. I would say go for it in your business. I wouldn't say don't do it because your business is imagery, and it's people expect it of you.
I would add that to be really careful, though, your business might be about the images, but you're also creating an experience. And what are people doing with that art? So try and put those images into context. Maybe it's tips about design, how that artwork or those images are going to be used in an office setting. How are these going to enhance the lifestyle or create the experience for the people that are in the audience of the art? So I really think, again, quotes or showing art and design skills of how to place things. There can be tips on that you can add on how to hang art when it's purchased.
Right.
All of those things are going to help people become design experts, and again, put it into context of what they do with these with your art pieces.
Right. You may also want to lead with, we have a view this email in a browser feature. You may want to lead with something like that maybe reword it a little bit, saying, and let people know, hey, this is an image-heavy email. If you have your images turned off and you would like to get the full experience, click here to view it in a browser. So there's people who have a text-based email client or have their images turned off by default are given right up front. You're telling them that you're going to show them a lot of images in their email, and click here to get the full experience.
Got it. And along that same vein, there was a question, do we consider text copy created as an image to be an image? And I'll just answer that very quickly. Even if there's text in the image, it's still an image. The email browser doesn't know that it's not, that it has text in it. It still just sees it as an image, so that would count as an image as well.
Here's a tip. How about next time you're creating an email, use our Canvas tool. There's a button on the right-hand side that says turn images off. And it'll actually make your email look like what it looks like to people who have their images turned off. And you'll find that in the Canvas tool in the Quick Preview tab. It's actually a pretty cool tool.
Yeah, it's a very useful way to see how it might look to those people. Also, I would add that if people add you to their address book, generally your email will come in with images turned on into their inbox, and you're also generally kept out of any spam filtering that they might have. So it's always good to recommend people, hey, add me to your address book, because that'll also be helpful in that sort of situation. We had another question just asking about a general optimal size or length for a newsletter email.
That's a good question. We don't really have a sweet spot, so to speak. It really depends on your content. Yeah, what I like to do is I like to stand back from my screen, blur my eyes, and if it looks like a big blob of text, like gray text area, it's too much. Maybe put some imagery in there, break it up a little bit. What we do with our own newsletter is we give little teasers. All of our content lives on our blog. So we give little teasers and then say, read more at the blog, read more at the blog.
Right. When
So,
there's 5 tips, there might be two that are given in the newsletter, but click to see the other 3 on the blog.
and that's also, I mean, that's the reason why, you use a vertical response in the first place, is to drive traffic and watch that traffic using our reporting go to wherever you need to drive it to. So if you're driving people to your blog, that's great.
Very good. So, do you have any examples of more than one call to action, of using more than one call to action in an email to drive people to do maybe somewhat different things from the message itself?
I think the newsletters are a good example of that, where there is more than one call to action. So there might be an editorial type column where you're giving them a few tips, or the cycling tips, for example, and then they click onto your website to read the rest of the article. But within that same newsletter, you might have some kind of a savings or an invitation to an event where they're clicking to go to that. I think trying to keep those to a manageable amount of calls to actions really can help.
Right.
But also, if it's really well designed and you've really got a few separate, consistent sections to a newsletter, you really can get away with that with more.
Right.
Like Alf had done in, I think maybe the Athena's Olive Tree or one of the others. We really divided that newsletter into some regular sections. Giving back section, talking about customer success section, a tips section, and then maybe a product offering. So keeping those consistent, if people regularly receive your newsletter and they know what to expect in the different types of articles that you're going to have listed there, that'll really help separate those call to actions and give each one its own platform, so to speak.
Excellent. So another question here. It was someone saying, according to their own marketing team, personalization can make an email seem too much like spam. Do you see this as an issue? And before you guys jump in, I will say that personalization in the subject line, of saying someone's name in the subject, that I see as can make an email look like spam, because it looks like you're trying really hard to get someone's attention. But then I would say that personalization in the message itself simply makes it look like you know who they are, but I don't know what you two would add to that.
Absolutely.
I would have to agree with you, Richard.
Yeah.
Personalization within the content of the email, saying "Dear Richard," is a very good thing, and we see that we've seen that improve people's attentions and reading or clicking through of our emails. In the subject line, and definitely never in the from label. In the subject line, yes, I see that all the time in my inbox, and I know it's spam right away, so I would never use it in the subject line. But in the email, and there's other things you can personalize on as well too. I mean, basically anything that you can put into your context record, you can merge into an email. So,
right.
Be it a username or a product information. If you know the last product that they purchased, say, hi Richard, you purchased a Sony Discman from us.
In the past, right. Really bringing that personal experience of how you met them.
Right.
Or what they've done with you in the past. It's almost like the electronic handshake of they're reading it and they're seeing it for the first time. The first few lines, you're reminding them of how they came, how you met with them and how they're engaged, and then that's really kind of winning them over one more stage.
That's true.
What would you say is and this isn't so much about design, but what would you say is a good open rate for an email?
Wow, that really varies based on industry type and the type of business and the type of relationship you have with your customers. We've talked about this before in a few other webinars we've done, and I think the best example I can give is think about the type of relationship you have with your customers. If you're a small retail shop in your community and you actually have a face-to-face relationship with your customers, maybe you're a salon, you're sending confirmation emails, birthday offers, and things like that. You know them on a personal level. You should expect to have a very high open rate.
Right.
You might have a small list, but high level of personal relationship. You might have a 50% open rate in that situation.
Right.
If you're an online retailer and you're really, people have bought from you in the past, you have thousands of names in your list, your open rate might be down to 15 or 20%.
And that would still be considered pretty good.
Yeah,
yes.
Definitely. So it really it depends on the relationship, I would say, that you have with your customer and with your list.
All right. So 2 questions here dealing with subject lines. The first one is how many words roughly should be in a subject line, and I'll jump in on that one. I would say you want to try to stay beneath 45 characters in your subject line or so, just based on people being able to read it quickly, and also because a lot of email browsers out there, like Outlook, will cut the subject line off at around 45 characters, so you don't want to go over that and people not be able to see your full subject line when they get your message. So that's where I would go with the words on that. Another question is, do you feel a subject line should stay consistent for recognition of who the sender is over time, or should it change with each email that you send out?
I think the from label should stay the same no
That's
matter
right.
what. Really establish consistency in the from label. Ask your audience to add you to your inbox. But your subject line should absolutely change.
Yes.
It should really reflect what they're going to get or what they're going to read about when they open the email. And have fun with it. It should inspire them to open that email.
That's true.
Definitely.
One thing I want to point out is I brought the slide back up is here you can see, if you send a test to yourself, you can see how those different clients are displaying your subject line. So here on the left-hand side, it gives you a pretty decent amount of space for that subject. But in this case on the right, where you have the vertical preview pane thing, you get cut off after, geez, it looks like 20 characters. So keep in mind, you test. See where things get cut off in different browsers. You want to keep, that's why we recommend never repeat your from label in your subject line. It's just a waste of time, waste of space. So from labels are for your company name. Subject lines are for what's in the email. So.
Got it. All right. So another question with dealing with forward to a friend links. Should that forward to a friend link just be at the bottom of the email? Should it be at the top? Should it be in both, or just wherever you want it to be? Where would you recommend putting a forward to a friend link?
That's a really good question. We for our own communications, we put it at the bottom. We see a lot of in the examples that we redesigned, we put them all over the place. We have some in the header along with, view this in a browser, forward it to a friend, right there. We have some in the table of contents. In this issue, you'll find A, B, C, and D. Here are some links to other links that might be of interest, our online catalog, or forward this email to a friend. So, I would say, if your goal is to get this thing forwarded,
Build your list.
to build your list, if that's what you're trying to do, get it above the fold, get it up, call it out,
I would say test it. Too.
Yeah,
It's a great vehicle to use test for 2 emails in a row, or 2 to 3 emails or newsletters in a row. Put your forward to a friend in one location, and then do an equal test in a different location, and see if you get any lift out of one versus the other.
And you'll know right away if you're using vertical response, because we label those lists. If someone were to forward your email to a friend, we create a list in your account that's labeled for F2AF, forward to a friend, and the email that it came from. So you'll know which one's performing better.
Thank you. I would also, another question came in, and I'll tackle this one since we're on the subject of emails being forwarded, asking why when someone forwards a message, and we're not talking about using the forward to a friend link, because when someone clicks that leaves our servers, it looks great. But why when someone clicks forward in their own email browser, why does that often break the HTML? And the reason for that is simply because that email browser, whatever they happen to be using, is trying to convert and push that document, your own HTML document, into its own design tool. And it can't necessarily handle everything in there. It doesn't necessarily use all those things when it builds an email, so it ends up breaking it. So there's no real way to avoid that, because be it Yahoo or Outlook or whatever email browser someone is using, they all approach building an email in a different way, and they all will somehow break your message one way or the other when someone clicks forward. So the only way to really avoid it is to try to push people to use a forward to a friend link that's embedded in the message. And of course, we don't charge you for people forwarding the email to a friend, so we're not trying to trick you into giving us a few extra pennies every message.
Right. We want you to grow your business and grow your list.
Definitely. So we're going to take a few more questions here before we close things out. Someone had asked, what are the recommended font sizes for an email in general?
It depends on how you're designing your email. There's different ways of declaring your font size. If you're using our Canvas tool, we give you the option to go from anywhere down from like 8 point up to, I think, even 20 point. We let you get those big fonts. I mean, we're not going to, even though we recommend against it, we're not going to say you can't do it. That's not our job. So I tend to, design in the 10-point to 14-point range, depending on, readability again. I test in many browsers, and I know if I send to a Mac, using Mac Mail, the font tends to be a little bit smaller than if I'm sending it to a PC. So I wanted to look professional. If I want it to look like, when I view it on the screen, I want it to look professional. So if it's giant fonts, it looks childish to me. I don't know, it's just my preference. So I like to keep it, in a respectable 12. I say 12 is the good sweet spot.
Yes.
12-point font.
All right, so we'll do two more questions here. Another question: could too many links in an email cause the message to be stopped as spam? I would say if you went really over the top with your links and maybe had 20, 25 links in your message, then yes, that could certainly make your email look suspiciously like spam if so much of your content is linked. But I don't think there's anything wrong with you having links at the top of the message, in the middle area, at the bottom. Just don't have every other sentence be a link to something, because that could look weird.
And I think then again, if you have that many links and that many offers, take a step back, look at your email and say, am I missing the opportunity to create a separate email at this point?
Right.
And will I get a better response if I pull one or two of these out and put it into a separate communication?
Make it more focused.
And then also a question: how often should I email to my database? How often should I send messages and advertisements to my list?
It really depends. It's funny. Some people have a weekly email. I know someone like Pampered Chef. Probably a weekly thing is fine. If it's a daily is way too much in my opinion. But then again, it's like I get emails from Barack Obama every day. It's like, but I don't delete them. So, it depends on your audience. It depends on the content, and you really have to feel it out. Again, it's a testing thing. You'll see unsubscribe spike if you're mailing too much. So you might want to pull back if you're seeing an unsubscribe spike. You don't want to mail too infrequent either, because people forget about you, and then all of a sudden they're hitting the spam button and calling you a spammer, and that's not a good thing either. So.
Weekly, we think, is a nice standard to create, and no less than once a month, because once a month you're going to lose that name recognition with your audience.
Yeah, if you don't mail people often enough, then they'll start to forget who you are and won't. When they're just scanning through their inbox, you got to think about the way you treat your own inbox. When you're scanning through there, you're not just taking time studying each email you receive. You're quickly picking what you want to read and throwing some things out. So if you don't stay in front of people at least at a certain rate, they may not notice you every time you email them. So the last question that I'm gonna bring up here that will lead to the last slide that we want to show was: I'm new to vertical response, and I'm hearing about tools I didn't know existed. How can I learn more about those tools and how to use them? So we have a resources slide here. I don't know if Alf you can find them and pull it up. But while he's doing that, I'll say first, we do have a site called How to Do Everything, which I hope is appropriately named, and that it will show you how to do everything. It's at, as you can see on the screen, verticalresponse.com/tutorials. And also, if you happen to be in your account and you click Help, it will take you to that same site. Just about every tool in our site is represented there, with a number of demos and tutorials you can watch or read to get started with it. Also, on that same section are archived webinars. This particular webinar will be archived there. You can easily find them. They're underneath a tab called Webinars. So we're very straightforward in the naming convention there. And another great webinar that you might want to watch if you go looking for this one is the How to Design Great Looking Email webinar that Alf and I did earlier this year. And it really gets into some very specific details and covers some of the same things we saw here, but a lot of different things too.
And on how to do these things.
Yeah, how to actually,
product.
not just this is what we did to make it look better, this is how we did it to make it look better, and how you can do it to make it look better. We also have, as you can see, weekly demos that happen every Tuesday for getting started with an account, sending an email, uploading a list, and every Thursday for surveys. I generally host these, but if I'm not here, it's someone else from the training team who will be there to show you the ropes. And then we also have a number of workshops. We're traveling around the country. I'll be there. Aaron will be there talking about any number of great things to do to improve your online marketing. So look for that at getvertical.com.
Those are really a full day of on-site training. Come meet us at either a hotel location or business location that we set up, and it's a real full day of education and best practices and tips. And
So-
we try to make it fun and interactive.
So I would say the last thing I want to say here is, well, actually, I've lost track of exactly what I was going to say. So
It's those flip-flops.
it is those flip-flops I wore in today. Unfortunately, they make it harder for me to concentrate. It's too free. So anyway, I know people asked a lot of questions today, and we're running out of time, so I'm sorry we couldn't get to every question. There were a lot of them. I would have loved to dive into all of them, so I apologize for that. If we didn't cover a question and you really want to see it answered, email me. You can email training@verticalresponse.com, or either I will answer it for you or someone else here will. And that way you can get the answer to the question that you were looking for.
And submit more emails to the makeovers@verticalresponse.com. And your email might get selected for when we do this extreme email makeovers again.
Yes, we're going to do this. We're going to do this presentation again in the future to look at other emails and how we've changed those. So if you're interested in coming back and seeing more and seeing your own email made over, please send that in.
I think we might need to focus on holiday campaigns next.
Yeah, sounds good.
We'll do your holiday makeovers.
That sounds good to me. But with that said, thank you everyone for coming out today. I hope you got something out of this, and I hope you have a great weekend.
Great.
Bye-bye.
Thanks again.